It is the morning of September 26, 1777. The cobblestones of Philadelphia are still wet from the night's rain. Church spires catch the first pale light over the Delaware River. Market Street is quiet, too quiet for a city of 40,000 souls. The wooden shutters are drawn, the doors are bolted. Dogs wander through empty stalls where vendors should be crying their prices. Somewhere in the distance, a sound rises that does not belong here. It is the sound of drums, precise, relentless, British drums. And the people of Philadelphia, the birthplace of American liberty, the city where independence was declared just 14 months ago, press their faces to cracked shutters and say nothing. Some weep, some smile. And by nightfall, the flag that flies above the State House is no longer the flag of a republic. The greatest city in the American colonies has fallen, and nobody is coming to save it. To understand what is lost this morning, you must first understand what Philadelphia is. In 1777, it is not merely a city. It is the idea of America made physical, the largest and most sophisticated urban center in all of British North America, larger than Boston, wealthier than New York, more cosmopolitan than anything the New World has yet produced. Its streets are laid out in a rational grid, wide enough for carriages to pass without strangling. Its markets offer goods from 4 continents. Its taverns hum with political argument, and its coffee houses with philosophical debate. This is the city where Benjamin Franklin flew his kite in a thunderstorm, where Thomas Jefferson labored over the language that would announce a nation to the world, where the Continental Congress declared that all men are created equal. Philadelphia is not just the capital of a new republic. It is the republic's conscience, its nervous system, its proof of concept. But the experiment is under tremendous strain. The war is 15 months old. It has not gone well. General George Washington's Continental Army is a force built on conviction and very little else. Its soldiers are farmers, tradesmen, apprentices, men who picked up muskets because they believed in something. They are underfed, poorly equipped, and led by officers learning the art of war in the most expensive classroom imaginable, the battlefield itself. Against them stands the most professional military force on earth. The British Army has spent a century fighting across 4 continents. Its infantry can load and fire 3 rounds per minute without flinching. The British are not here to negotiate. They are here to end this. General Sir William Howe commands approximately 15,000 men, British regulars and Hessian mercenaries, the finest land force the Crown can assemble in the Western Hemisphere. His orders are to break American resistance in the Middle Colonies, and the clearest path to that goal, both symbolically and strategically, is Philadelphia. Take the capital, the thinking goes in London, and you take the heart out of the rebellion. The Americans will see their grand experiment for what the British have always believed it to be, a fantasy. Howe is not wrong to think this. He simply does not understand what he is fighting. The campaign begins in late August. Rather than marching overland through New Jersey, Howe loads his army onto ships and sails south through the Chesapeake Bay, landing at Head of Elk in Maryland. It is a maneuver designed to outflank Continental defenses and approach Philadelphia from the south through terrain Washington has not fully fortified. It works. Washington moves to intercept, arranging his forces along Brandywine Creek on September 11th. The battle begins as a frontal engagement. British and Hessian forces pressing across Chad's Ford, while Washington holds the line. But Howe has sent a large flanking column under Cornwallis on a long march north, crossing at an unguarded ford,
and swinging around to hammer Washington's right flank from behind. By late afternoon, the Continental line is crumbling. The retreat is ragged and desperate. Washington's army survives, but barely. The road to Philadelphia lies open. The Continental Congress does not wait. They flee the city on September 19th, carrying the fragile paperwork of a nation that suddenly feels very fragile indeed, riding west through the dark countryside to settle in York, Pennsylvania, a small town that will serve, awkwardly, as the capital of the United States for the next 9 months. The city they leave behind is deeply divided. Philadelphia holds a substantial population of loyalists, men and women who never wanted independence, who watched the Declaration being drafted a few blocks from their homes with dread rather than exultation. There are Quaker pacifists suspected by both sides. There are merchants whose fortunes depend on British trade. There are families with sons in the Continental Army and sons in the King's forces, thanksgiving and tragedy arriving in the same dispatch. When Cornwallis leads 1,600 British light infantry and grenadiers through the city on the morning of September 26th, the response is not uniform. Some residents hang Union Jacks before the soldiers even reach Market Street. Others bury their valuables and wait in silence. Howe has given strict orders against pillaging. He wants a city intact and a population that can be shown back in London to welcome the return of royal authority. This is an occupation, not a sack. The distinction matters to the British. It matters somewhat less to the people being occupied. Washington refuses to accept the loss. On October 4th, before dawn, he launches a surprise assault on the British encampment at Germantown, just north of the city. 4 columns converging simultaneously in darkness and thick autumn fog. For a brief, astonishing hour, it works. The British are caught off guard.
Keep moving,
American
lads. Fight's
forces
not
push
over.
deep into the village, and for one extraordinary morning, it seems possible that the entire campaign might be reversed. Then the fog becomes the enemy. The columns lose contact with each other. American units fire on American units in the gray murk. A company of British soldiers barricades itself inside a stone mansion called Cliveden, and the sound
Fresh
of fighting
goods, all
around
inspected.
that building
These apples,
draws
merchant.
precious
Show me.
time and
Of course, sir.
ammunition
The best.
away from the main assault.
Sir,
The
dispatches from New
momentum
York.
dies.
Very well. Leave
The
them.
British
And
counterattack.
prepare the orders for Philadelphia.
Washington withdraws. Germantown is lost. The city settles into occupation. What follows over the next 9 months is not simple tyranny. It is something more psychologically unsettling, an occupation that seduces as much as it oppresses. Howe establishes headquarters in a fine townhouse on Market Street. His officers are billeted in the homes of the city's wealthiest residents, and many of those residents find, to their complicated feelings, that they enjoy the company. Balls are held, concerts attended, the theater opens its doors. In April 1778, the British stage the Meshkianza, a grand pageant of tournaments, fireworks, and a banquet that lasts through the night, thrown in Howe's honor as he prepares to leave command. It is magnificent. It is also precisely the wrong signal. Aristocratic spectacle in the capital of a republic, while 12 miles to the northwest, the Continental Army is starving. Valley Forge is where the true cost of Philadelphia's fall is paid. Washington's 11,000 soldiers winter in the frozen Pennsylvania hills without adequate shelter, food, clothing, or medicine. They build crude log huts in ground that freezes solid. They wrap their feet in rags. They eat flour and water cooked over open flame when rations run out entirely. 1/4 of the men who march into Valley Forge will not march out. And yet they stay. They drill. a Prussian officer named
To the King's
Friedrich
health,
von
gentlemen.
Steuben spends the brutal
And to our
winter
continued comfort.
forging
Indeed.
desperate volunteers into something approaching a professional army. They endure through cold that cannot be explained by strategy alone. It is something older than strategy. It is belief. The British evacuation comes on June 18, 1778. France has entered the war on the American side, and the Royal Navy faces threats far larger than a colonial occupation. The army consolidates in New York. The city that cost so much to take is simply abandoned. Loyalists who had welcomed Howe's soldiers watch them march away with something close to despair, some fleeing with the army, others staying to face whatever mercy a revolution offers. Washington's army re-enters Philadelphia weeks later. The churches still stand, the markets reopen, the Delaware River glitters in summer heat exactly as it always has. But something fundamental has shifted. The British held the American capital for 9 months, and it accomplished nothing decisive. The army they failed to destroy at Brandywine and Germantown has emerged from Valley Forge, transformed. The Republic did not collapse when its capital fell. It simply moved and kept fighting. This is the calculation British strategists could never quite make, that the American experiment does not reside in any building, any institution, any city that can be taken and held. It lives in the conviction of the people who believe in it. Philadelphia falls, and the revolution continues. That fact, more than any single battle, is what the occupation of 1777 ultimately proves. The drums are gone now. Market Street fills again with voices. The flag above the State House is the right flag once more. And somewhere in the stone and timber of this city, a quieter truth settles permanently into place. That the things most worth keeping are not always the things that can be defended. Sometimes they endure precisely because they cannot be held.